Alright guys, welcome back to the 120th episode of this review series where I review everything in Fortnite Save the World. For this episode, I'm going to be doing a review on Diecast Jonesy. And what his commander perk is Boomstick Plus, which increases Go and Commando damage by 50% and changes damage type to energy. But anyway, first let's go over the perks of the weapon I'm using with this, and that is a Ground Pounder. So for the first one, we got crit rating. And I put a crit build on this, so that means you put 1 crit rating and 1 crit damage, so it doesn't matter where you put it, just make sure you have 1 of each. And then for this next one, I have reload speed, because reload speed is pretty slow, so yeah. And then for the element, I have energy, fire, nature, physical, or water. If you're against nature enemies, use fire. If you're against water enemies, use nature. And if you're against fire enemies, use water. But if you don't want to change your element based on what element of enemy you're fighting, you could just choose energy like I did, because it does have a 25% damage reduction, but it's just, if you're lazy like me and you don't want to change it, or you don't have enough reperk or anything, then you could just go with energy. And then physical is good for enemies with no element, so that's blasters, takers, flingers, lobbers, pitchers, and sploders. They always spawn with no element, so if you're mainly going against them, then choose physical. Or if there's just like a storm with no elemental enemies, then you could just go with physical. But I just went with energy because it's mainly good against elemental enemies. And then for this fourth perk, I have a crit damage, since I said before, 1 crit rating, 1 crit damage. And then for this last one, there is damage to afflicted targets, damage to missed monsters and bosses, damage to slowed and snared targets, or damage to stunned, staggered, frozen, or knocked down targets. And you're going to choose this based on your final perk. And what mine is causes affliction damage for 6 seconds. And if you have this one, then make sure you have damage to afflicted targets. But if you have one that causes the enemies to be slowed and snared, then you could choose damage to slowed and snared targets. But if it's anything else, just recycle the weapon and try to get one with either causes affliction or causes the enemy to be slowed and snared. And anyway, now for the hero loadout. For the team perk, I'm using Happy Holidays, which reduces your ability cooldowns by 40% and stacks independently from other cooldown reduction perks, and requires 3 heroes with 2 or more stars. Then for the support team, we got First Cup of the Day from Ted. While Going Commando is active, increases crit rating by 10 and crit damage by 100%. Ain't Done Yet from Sergeant Jonesy, or Birthday Brigade Ramirez. They both do the same thing, which is increases Going Commando duration by 5 seconds. Going Again from Commando Spitfire, Commando Renegade, or Commando Ramirez, and they all do the same thing, which is decreases Going Commando cooldown by 30%. Azalea Clark, and she has Space Technology, which increases ability energy damage by 15.5%. And then lastly, Ghoulish Cackle from Willow increases ability damage up to 37.5% based on the percentage of your missing health. But anyway, the gameplay you're seeing in the background is a power level 124, eliminate and collect mission, and I was joined with one other player. And firstly, let's talk about his abilities. The first one is Warcry, which helps you and your surrounding teammates with it just increases your damage, your fire rate, and your melee attack speed. So that's really good, and it's for 12 seconds. So like, this is for if you're fighting a mini boss or something like that, or you just want to take out a horde quickly, then you could pop the Warcry and take it out pretty easily. And then we got Frag Grenade, which is pretty good for whenever you don't have your minigun out. Since the minigun has a 25-second cooldown, you could just use your shotgun, the Ground Pounder that I said before, or whatever, any other gun that you want. Since, like, I don't have a hero loadout that buffs any specific gun, you can use any gun. I'm just using the Ground Pounder, and you can use the Frag Grenade to deal with all the hordes, and then use the shotgun to deal with the higher health enemies. And then he's got Minigun, the Going Commando ability, which is pretty good with this hero loadout. Normally, it's kind of dog with a super long cooldown, and it's not really that good. But with Diecast Jonesy, he's probably the best hero for the Going Commando damage. so that's pretty good. Just an increased damage. And then with Azalea, Clark, and Willow, you get increased damage. With Willow, you have to lose some health, but that's not really a problem. Since you have increased damage, you'll be killing the enemies before they even get to you. So yeah. And then the cooldown, 25 seconds. It's kind of long, not very long though. So you could deal with the enemies while you are having the cooldown. And then first cup of the day, really good since it adds a crit rating and stuff to the gun. And Gold Commando, I don't think it normally has a crit rating and stuff like that. So this is pretty good, just a lot of extra damage. And yeah, Diecast Jonesy, I'd say pretty good and probably like one of the best minigun heroes. Probably the best, actually, since he just increases the damage by so much. But yeah, anyway guys, if you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because I do these review videos where I review everything in Fortnite Save the World 3 times a day. And also like, comment, and share so that more people can see my videos. But anyway guys, I'll see you next time.